The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, good morning. This is Mark speaking from Patton. I'm glad to see you here for the webinar today. So we're ready on our side. However, let's give another 1 or 2 minutes for some more people to join, and then we'll get started. 1 or 2 more minutes, then we are ready to start. Okay, good. I think we are ready here. Let's get started. Jen, if you want to do the introduction, please.
Absolutely. Sure. Yep. So welcome everybody to the Discover the Patton Innovations 2018. With me today, I have Bobby Patton, our CEO and president of Patton Electronics, and also Mark Aberhart. He is our product line manager for the voice over IP. So I'm going to turn it over to Bobby.
Hello, everyone. Hey, I just wanted to welcome everybody here. It's a real honor for me to have the opportunity to talk about the future and the things that are coming up and the things that are being released now, and to have the opportunity to talk about it with all of our customers and channels. I wanted to start by just talking about what's motivating some of the new work that we have coming out by looking at the market trends. They're really pretty astonishing when you see them. The things that they're talking about and the growth that they're expecting just in the enterprise SBC market. This is an area that we've been working pretty diligently to educate the market on how these fit in, why they're needed, and the market is starting to respond. And now we're seeing global forecasts in the range of 8.26% compound annual growth, which is more than double the US GDP projected growth rate. So that's pretty exciting to see that kind of growth coming in the enterprise SBC. Another big trend we're seeing is the multi-service business gateways. We've been doing the voice over IP gateways for a long time. Before getting into voice over IP, we had a lot of products that were hitting the industrial market space, and we're beginning to see all kinds of services being integrated into this customer premise equipment that's sitting on the edge of the network. IoT is a big driver behind that, but lots of other services are going to be delivered through these gateways as well, and we're looking forward to seeing some of those things coming out in the years to come. And finally, the big trend, cloud and virtual communications devices. You've heard a lot about the cloud, and what we're seeing is that as the cloud is starting to really take hold, and there's more and more data processing capability and other data storage capability being put in the cloud, and all that's being shared from a centralized point. There's also a need to put the SBC resources into the cloud. And you can see the references there on the slide. These aren't coming from my words alone. This is what all of the analysts are saying as well. So the big driver on all of the cloud take-up is this CapEx versus OpEx. And I know everybody has heard the terms, but may not really appreciate the value that's being realized as the transition from a CapEx model to an OpEx model is taking hold. You can see from this cost structure for a typical communication service provider, would also be true for an enterprise network, that nearly 50% of the costs are in CapEx, not including the financing. So once you add the financing on top of that, it's a tremendous amount of the capital resources that are being consumed just on the internal infrastructure. And as enterprises and service providers are acknowledging this and seeing it happening, they're starting to outsource a lot of that, put it into the cloud. And the advantages they get with that, of course, in addition to reducing their immediate upfront costs, they can scale as they grow. And they really have an infinite scale that they can grow. They don't need to acquire more real estate, more racks, more servers. They just consume some additional CPU resources from the web. And it's really a beautiful formula. So these are the things that are driving it, and we're responding with our product portfolio in order to take advantage of that. And that's what the innovations are. We see these things as a pathway to growth. We have new products and services, but with any new product, any new service, we have to be able to keep up with the competition, and we have to offer differentiators. And I think that's what we're doing here, and that allows you guys to do the same thing. The products also need to be able to integrate quickly. They have to be interoperable, easy to adapt to various environments, and integrate with various management and accounting systems. And finally, you need to be able to manage and control all these products and services. So they have to allow monitoring and control the device, being able to examine the health of the product and service, enable things like touchless provisioning and automated updating of firmware, and they have to enable single source of information. So big data comes into play here. So all these things are the drivers. This is what's really motivating us to bring the new products and services out that we're talking about today. And with that, we'll hand it over to Mark.
Very good. Thank you, Bobby, for doing the introduction. So this is Mark speaking, and glad to present you today on how we're responding to these trends, how our solution looks like for addressing those needs, and what we are ready with today and what's coming throughout this year. So I'm gonna start talking about the Patton Cloud, which is ready by today already. So the Patton Cloud is a centralized platform for monitoring Patton devices. So it's something really new, and it's a really nice tool where I would like to give you some impressions coming in the next slides on how it looks like and what it does. So the Patton Cloud centralized platform, as I said, so that's gonna allow you to use it for online services, for online management of CPEs, to do license management, for instance. So I'm sure you know that the licensing, it's done today. If you want to enable VPN functionalities on a smart node, for instance, that this requires ordering the license, getting a license key through email, apply that license to the smart node device, which is quite a long steps required to get to that license and have it installed. So with the Patton Cloud solution, we're going to be able to make it way more easier, and I will show you how that works. So the Patton Cloud is multi-tenant, is a multi-tenant solution. So that means you can manage your devices through the cloud. However, you can also set up subgroups which would represent your customers, where again, your customers could have a login to the Patton Cloud in order for them to manage their devices they have. Another nice functionality that we are offering out of the cloud is remote customer troubleshooting. So that really removes the issues that come along with problems arising at the customer premise while setting up a complicated remote desktop connection from one PC to the other in order to reach down to the CPE for having problems identified there. So with the cloud, we are able to offer an easy and fast remote troubleshooting tool. So the way it works is that the CPEs are establishing a secure connection to the cloud, and we're utilizing that secure connection, which is done through HTTPS. We're utilizing that connection to reach out to the CPE, which makes it faster, easier, and which ends up with less money and OPEX to be spent for troubleshooting a problem. Of course, zero-touch provisioning is part of the Patton Cloud as well. So the secure zero-touch we offered up to now already is going to be integrated into Patton Cloud, so that there is one central location, one interface, which allows you to do all these things. And this is just a snapshot of what we have. There's going to be more available as we move along with the development and further improvements of the cloud. So today we're in beta stage, so there is test accounts available. So for any one of you being interested in the Patton Cloud, reach out to us asking for a beta login, so you can have a look at it and test it already. Moving on towards mid of the year, we're looking at right now, we want to go general available with the Patton Cloud solution. Now,
so Mark, real quick, how much of Patton's internal operations are coming from the cloud?
So can you rephrase the question again? Say it again.
How much of Patton's internal operations are coming from the cloud?
So in terms of the operations, so it's really we can save a lot of money there. So in terms of, as I said, license management, where we can cut down costs on our end, but also more importantly on the customer's end, by the example, as I've mentioned, with the license management. Which is just one thing, but also what support services is concerned. There we have way more tools that makes it easier for the operation cost to come down actually. Good. So let me move on and giving you some snapshots on the Patton Cloud and how it looks like. So starting with the dashboard, it gives you an overview of all the nodes that you're operating that belong to you, to your organization, on the map. And also, as you can see on the bottom side here, it gives you an overview of how many of those devices are online, how many of those aren't connected to the cloud right now. And on the other hand, you see which type of models are connected to the cloud at the moment. So going from there into a deeper level, what the devices is concerned, on the device list, you would see which type of model again, serial number, for instance, what software is running on those devices, and you can even see at which location they are. With the city information, and then we also offer quick views or quick instructions that can be done from this view actually. For instance, if you want to know a certain IP address of a device, you can just click on the corresponding button and you will immediately get the live information of that device. Even from here, from that list, we can go one level deeper with more detailed information of a certain device. So on the left-hand side, you can see the map on where this device is located. Of course, you can zoom in and zoom out to see where this device is connecting from. On the right-hand side, you can see the status of the device, so for how long it's been connected, and also in case of a disconnect, you would see the reason for that disconnect. If someone unplugged the cable or if something else happened to that device, if a configuration was changed, for instance. Another thing is the IP interface status. For instance, here you could easily see if there is something wrong with the LAN connection. For instance, if there is a phone not operating anymore, so you could see, oh well, the IP interface is down on the LAN side, so let's troubleshoot that. So it gives you instant information about the situation out at the customer premise. In terms of licensing, as you can see further down on the right bottom side, that's the information on the software licenses that are enabled on that device. So everything that's brown here, that's standard enabled on the certain device you're looking at, and everything that's blue, so that's leased licenses that can be distributed among different CPEs. And I'm gonna cover that just a few seconds later. Another thing I've just mentioned before is the remote CLI terminal. So from that view, you can instantly connect through CLI to that device. So what you see here is the CLI prompt from that device, as you would be sitting just next to the device or in the same network using your PC, for instance. So with that, it gives the instant access to that device to run any debug logs, to do any configuration changes as far as this is needed. So it's a really powerful tool that reduces time to solve a problem, that reduces cost for spending support services to the client out in the field. Another functionality we offer in the cloud is redirect functions. So that's something we have available today already through a separate portal. So what we're doing here, we're migrating that into the Patton cloud. As I said, that there is going to be one location where you can manage everything that's related to the CPEs. So in here, as you can see, you can define certain targets from where devices should get its configuration or its firmware from. So all nicely and easily to be managed out of the cloud. Now, coming back to the licensing function, that's part of the cloud as well. So on the left-hand side, you can see the license pool that would belong to your organization. So how this works is you would order licenses from Patton. Those licenses is going to be assigned to your account you own on the cloud side, and from there you can start distributing those licenses among the CPEs that are connected to the cloud. So with that, you can reuse licenses again. So for instance, you could assign it to a certain device, customer A, and if you see that customer doesn't require that many licenses you assigned him, you can transition some of those licenses over to another customer. So that's really flexible, dynamic, and easy. On the right-hand side, you can see the current distribution of those licenses. So a total number of 660 SIP sessions you got in your pool of licenses, and 290 of those are being leased out to devices. So further down, you can see how these 290 licenses are split up. So some of them are assigned to a demo device and some to the smart node sitting in my lab and so on. And even further down, you see some history information that these are based on hourly, daily, or even monthly and weekly time scales on where you can see how your licenses out of your pool were being used by the devices out in the field. So again, here it's really easy, simpler, time saving for distributing licenses out to the CPEs in the field. So again, the benefits of the Patton Cloud, it's central, it's simple. There's no capex at this point, so it's user friendly, and there is no upfront investment. So it's a nice tool that makes life easier for you, we're sure. And again, just let us know if you're interested in getting a beta account for start looking at it, start testing it. So we'd be more than glad to give you that access. Now, talking about the cloud and a lot of things going virtualized. So we're also virtualizing our smart nodes. So as you know, the smart node today, it's a piece of hardware you're getting that is being shipped to you that contains certain functionalities, whether this is routing or the stateful firewall, SIP back-to-back user agent, for instance. So all these functionalities that are running on a piece of hardware on a smart node, we've now virtualized. So what it means, these functionalities you can get in a software image, whereas this image you can run on a virtualized environment, whether this is a virtual box or a KVM or an x86 PC So you can operate it independently on any kind of infrastructure. So it's really where you need it in the network, whether it's on a data center on a CO side, or if it's on a server farm on the customer premise. So it's regardless where you would need certain functionalities the smart node offers, you can just easily install and run that at the place of your choice. So the benefits of the virtual smart node is there is no hardware, so no shipping cost actually. So it's easy to set up, and there is no major capex. And really, it dynamically scales whenever you need it in whatever amount of SIP sessions, for instance, or you can even run multiple smart node instances if you're operating it on a server farm or in a data center. By today, beta testing of the virtual smart node is available, and also here, as we move along, there is going to be a release preview available sometime later, and within the third quarter of this year, there is going to be general availability of the virtual smart node. Good. Now, there is more than that. So in terms of the enterprise communication segment, there is a nice and unique feature we've developed and we're bringing to the market. So that feature is so unique and so great that we've even put a patent on it. So the feature is all about survivability to increase uptime of communication system to the enterprise. So what it does, it's a SIP survivability functionality for hosted or SIP trunk services that will go to the enterprise. So what it does, it's ensuring service continuity in case of issues that may happen to the access link or to a phone service. And with that, we are able, with that solution, to provide local station-to-station calling, and even more importantly, allowing emergency calls still to be done from the desk phone or from the soft client that's running on the enterprise side. So this feature is actually available now in the latest Trinity software releases, so you can start testing it. So there's a lot of survivability being talked about in the market space, and I just want to start from here on how the standard solution of such a survivability case would look like. So it's simply just a CPE that would monitor and handle the voice calls in that aspect to make sure that the failover is happening if there is something going down on the access link side. However, this also requires things to be done on the enterprise side. So all the SIP phones would need to be configured or reconfigured in order for them to be talking to that CPE, which is actually managing all the sessions and the transaction going through it. It requires some IP router reconfiguration, making sure that the CPE has the right connectivity. And of course, the SIP trunk needs to be set up and also properly maintained on that CPE. Now, what we have done is we came up with a way simpler solution than that. So with our solution, there is actually no configuration needed at this point. What the normal operation of that SIP hosted service is concerned, there's just a very minor rewiring required in order for the smart node to be placed in that connection between the router and the switch as indicated here. So why it's that simple? So what we've done, we've developed a self-learning algorithm for monitoring the connections, and I want to show you how that works. So for a setup, to put it in a simplified way, as you can see it here, the smart node is passively monitoring the traffic that is flowing through it. So the phones registering to the soft switch, to the phone service, doing phone calls. From there, by passively monitoring the connections that are going through, the smart node is able to determine the address, the IP address, or the domain name of the soft switch from where the phones are registering to, and from there the smart node starts monitoring that service. So in case of anything that happens, whether it's a van failure or the service going down due to whatever reason, only at that point the smart node kicks in and takes over control of all the communication. So what it does, it's allowing the SIP phones on the right-hand side to do station-to-station calls, even if the WAN link is down. And also it allows those phones to call 911 in case of an emergency. And how that's done is that the smart node is taking over the signaling. It's redirecting the calls through a TDM trunk. So with that, we're able to deliver a service even if there is a failure on the WAN side. Now, of course, what happens if the WAN link comes back? At that point, the smart node is detecting that instantly, and it would step back and again act in a passive way. So the phones are going to be talking to the soft switch, to the telephone service as they are configured to, so they wouldn't see any difference at that point that something happened to the service for a certain time. So really to highlight again the benefits of that solution, there's no additional complexity going to the enterprise that needs to be installed, managed and monitored. So it's really simple, no configuration needed at that point, and it really brings a lot of benefits, as I've said before, station-to-station calling. So imagine a big enterprise with different location, so that you can still call from one office to the other, for instance. It allows emergency calls to be done, where I think that's one of the most important. And still, you can even do regular inbound and outbound calls through the TDM trunk, but also we offer the same thing through an alternative WAN link, for instance. So that could be a additional wired link, or it can even be a wireless link using 3G or 4G connectivity. Good. Now, with all these changes we're coming up with that progress we're making, those innovations you've seen, so there is some changes required, of course. So all these new things I've been presenting just now, and we talked about, they are going to be available on Trinity, and some of them are available already on those devices. So as you saw, for instance, the auto survivability function. So with all these technology improvements we are doing, it requires some consolidation and changes on the product side as well. So what this actually means is that we're going to streamline the product lines on the smart node side in order to make it easier for your customers in order to be managed. So our goal is to make the new functionalities available to the smart nodes that we intend to be selling for many more years. And also in that course, we are trying to keep the number of stock keeping units as low as possible. So really we're consolidating there to make it easier for your customers, in order for them and for you, of course, to benefit from all the new functionalities we are doing at that point. So what this means is, of course, the latest Trinity software is available for smart nodes on the ISDN side, or even analog smart nodes. Now, what is happening on what we are doing is that by later in this year, we're going to remove smartware support on the ISDN side. Later in the year, towards Q4, there's going to be smartware analog products we are taking down, as we have full replacements that even have more functionalities than smartware has today on the Trinity side already. So we're consolidating that on the Trinity platform. Now, with having said this, we also want to help you on the educational side, what the Trinity platform is concerned. I know that many of you know Trinity already. However, we want to support you there with the Patton Academy, which is an online tool for get yourself for yourself to be familiarized with all the nice functionalities Trinity is providing. So there we're putting up a special promo until the end of June of this year for a $50 subscription fee to get access to the Patton Academy. So there you can certify yourself to become a voice expert on Trinity, and there is more courses on top of that which you can do. There's a training kit available as well to do the hands-on by yourself. So that training kit is available also. So there, just get in touch with one of our salespeople to get pricing for the training kit there. Now, with all these changes, the new things that are coming, the new products that are there already, and some of them that are coming new, it also requires interoperability, of course. So we also thought about that. So in that sense, we're doing improvements, enhancements to stay up with the certifications. So Skype for Business is one thing which we're doing towards Q2 of this year. We're going to be ready with certification of ESPCs and VoIP gateways on the Skype for Business side, and sort of the same thing we're doing for BroCloud, which is a BroadSoft platform as well there for ESPCs and VoIP gateways. Another thing to be mentioned here, what 3CX is concerned, I know many people are using 3CX. There we have a really nice knowledge base article that explains and shows how easy it is to onboard and configure Trinity smart nodes in a 3CX environment. So reach out to our knowledge base, have a look there on how easy this is and how this is being done. Good. Now we're coming closer to the end of this presentation. Another highlight here, by March of this year, so it's just a few days away actually, we're going to come up with a new web page that is using a responsive design, so state-of-the-art web page. Just look out for that coming up soon. And at this point, I think we're going to see what questions we have here. So Jen, let me know if there was any questions by anyone of the audience. Let me see here. Questions. What do we have? Okay, I see some questions have been answered already. Let's go from top down. Just see if Jen, are you able to hear me at this point? If not, I'll just go through the questions myself quickly.
Looks like Jen's audio dropped.
Yeah,
so.
Looks like.
So Mark, the first question that came out was, how does a channel partner generate revenue from the cloud?
Right. So there we are working on different tariff plans, let's say different bundles of services that can be purchased out of the cloud. So our intent there is for the channel partners to sign up to one of those, and then in order for them to resell those services out of the cloud to their clients and make revenue on top of these. However, it's also a great platform to offer services out of the cloud with the features we have in there, where revenue can be generated by the channel.
Good. Another question is, if the gateway is on the customer premise, is behind a NAT, can the cloud management system still manage that device?
Yes, and that's actually a good question. So yes, that's possible. So that's a really nice thing we have done there. So I personally like it a lot because it's that easy. So it's using an HTTPS connection from the device. So the device is setting up a connection to the cloud, and from there it's easy to get through NAT, to go through firewalls. And as I said earlier, so once that connection is established, we can utilize that connection for sending commands back to the device to open up a CLI. So it's even possible then to reach out to the web interface of that device. So yeah, so it's easily to come through NAT and also through firewalls.
Good. There was also then a question about which of our legacy hardware devices can be connected to the new cloud system. That may have been answered in the presentation, but
right. Yeah, let's answer it here to make sure that yeah. So it's all that's running Trinity. So it's mainly every Smart Node 55XX and everything that's 41XX. So 4131, for instance, 4171, the PRI gateway. So everything that's running Trinity from version 3.12 on is capable of running or connecting to the cloud, actually.
Good. There's a question from Phil Craig asking if there's a survivability option for 3G as the failover.
Right. Yeah, that's available. So as you have noticed, Phil Craig, some of our devices, they have a USB port, so that USB port can be utilized to connect a 3G or 4G dongle to it. So on our webpage, we have a list of approved and tested dongles that will work with the Smart Node devices. So the answer is yes, that's something we can offer as well.
And Alan Hancock is asking if the Smart Node gateways remain functional even when sites are blocking internet access.
Yes, that's correct. However, if they're blocking it permanently, so then it's not possible to reach out to the cloud. So there on the firewall, for instance, on that premise, at least one rule would have to be added that allows HTTPS connection to the cloud IP addresses from where we're operating the cloud from. So that needs to be enabled, but even here, if something would happen to the WAN link, or if the cloud cannot be reached for a certain time anymore, so there is a grace period of 24 hours, so that the device still can operate if it would lose the connection to the cloud for a certain time.
Good. So just summarizing the answer, Alan, the gateways don't lose any functionality. We've only added cloud connectivity for management configuration and monitoring, that sort of thing. You can still do all the things that you used to do with the hardware with no loss of functionality. When you do have the cloud enabled, then that opens up a series of other features that are available, including some dynamic licensing capability on SIP sessions and that sort of thing. But as Mark indicated, if that connectivity is lost for any period of time, the box will retain for some grace period the original licenses until that can be reestablished. So that's probably more than you asked, but that's the answer. Klaus Schmidt is asking if there's a cost involved for the cloud interface, or is it part of the general license model?
Yeah, so there is going to be different offers, different bundles we're coming up with. There's going to be one subscription method that is free of charge, and there's going to be 2 or 3 more where some cost is associated to it, but where those are delivering more features than the than the free version is offering. So there's different bundles. One is for free, and some have some cost associated with it.
Okay, so related to that, are there any sales materials ready for the cloud that they can when can they expect to see sales materials?
Right. So that's something we're still working on. So as I said, it's in beta phase. So we are able to give selected customers access to the cloud for testing. However, on the sales commercial side, so that's still being worked on, and I'm expecting this to be ready within 1 to 2 months max at that point.
Good. And somebody, let's see, asked whether or not, or which smartware models are going away. And I think that's a complex answer, but go ahead.
Right. That's a complex answer. So there is going to be the PRI models we're transitioning over to Trinity only, but all of you attending this webinar, you're going to get an email with more detailed information on that. So there is information on the web page as well on the certain products that either are transitioned from one model to a completely new model where all the new functionalities are available, and then there is some smaller changes on the SmartNode PRI side. So that's all on our webpage, and again, you're going to get an email tomorrow in the morning with the detailed information on that side.
And I think the last question was, let's see. The last question was about a link to the 3CX knowledge base article, if we can provide that.
Absolutely.
It's on our website.
Absolutely.
And maybe you can drop that in the answer block.
Yep.
And
so I will.
Someone else, Ken noted that there were some SIP problems on this webinar. This isn't coming from Patton. This is a GoToWebinar. So that's the answer to that.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Bobby. Yeah, so I'm going to include the 3CX link in the presentation slides you're going to get as well. So the recording, presentation slides, and the detailed information about the product changes we're doing, you're going to get all in an email by tomorrow. Very good. What do you think, Bobby? Any more questions?
I think that's it.
Perfect. So at that point, I would like to say thank you to all of you joining this webinar, and looking forward to seeing you again sometime soon in one of our next webinars we're going to do later in the year. So again, thanks for joining, and wish you a nice and successful day.
Bye, everyone.